to the channel. Today we're talking about EDC and what you carry around, actually what I carry around every day to perform magic. I used to be like most magicians, like you maybe, talking to you right now, and I just stuff my pockets with tricks that I'll never do. And it would get in the way of things that I actually needed to carry to get through the day. So what I have come up with, my philosophy on everyday carry as a hobbyist magician is obviously completely different if you are a professional, and it's completely different depending on the type of clothes you wear and how you dress. And I'll go over that. But my theory on EDC and what I carry is everything that I carry has to have a real life purpose and has to perform as many tricks or provide as much utility devices as possible with as little amount of space. And I think this is a series that I'm going to do on a few things and ideas I have on what I carry with me already, and potentially ideas of what you can implement and what you could carry for your everyday carry as a hobbyist magician. And the first thing I want to go over is, boom, my mini Altoids box. Now this box might look small because it is small, but it serves at least 4 purposes. Right? It is a normal Altoids box. Well, normal looking Altoids box. This is actually mint by Daniel Garcia, which provides you with a normal looking mini Altoids box, card to impossible location, or mystery card box that you can carry with you at all times. What it does is it lets you carry normal mints. So the practical use for it with this theory I have of maximizing my EDC is that I like to carry mints around. So how do I carry my mints? In the little mint box. Perfect. Now, can this mint box also perform magic tricks? Yes, it can. Now, thanks to the brilliant mind of Daniel Garcia, he released this, 2018, 2019, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago now, and I picked it up right away. Side note, they no longer make these. He does still sell the gimmick that is inside here. You'll have to build it yourself, but let's get back to explaining how this is maximized. And that's the theory. That's the whole idea of this video, how to maximize your everyday carry. So this little box here not only gives me card to impossible location, but it also lets me carry gypsy thread. So I don't know if your parents or your grandparents used to carry or used to have sewing kits inside their little tin boxes. That's kind of how I joke around about carrying a little thread around when I perform the trick and tricks that I will explain here shortly. This is Murphy's gypsy thread that they provided, the UV glowing one. I don't use UV light to perform this, but I did cut off maybe about 2 feet of it and wrap it onto this plastic thread holder. I don't know what the heck it's called, but you can purchase these fairly cheap. I think the pack I got has a pack of 4, and you can wrap your own thread around it, making the spool smaller but still big enough to use for the gypsy thread trick. And I always wanted to perform gypsy thread, but I'd never had a way to carry it that made sense for me, because I am not a performing magician. This is just a hobby. So having it in here not only makes sense for the story and premise that I present, but it makes it small enough to carry in here. What I also do is I carry, and I will show you, mints. I carry mints around. So if I ever need a mint, I have mints. Again, this is maximizing my EDC. So this does serve a purpose in my everyday life, as far as it carries mints for me. And sometimes I throw a little, sticks of gum in here if I want to carry gum instead of carrying a gum pack. And if you noticed, I also have a single post-it note stuck. That's just, it can come off whenever, but it's stuck onto the lid of it, because the trick that I do in order to get into my Altoids box is I ask someone, how many mints do you think come in an Altoids box? And they guess. And let's say they guess, I don't know, 22. So I'll then show them, well, I kind of actually tricked you, because I had thread in here, right? That if they wanted to see a trick with it, and that's how I present it. If you want to see a trick with that later, just remind me as I put it in my pocket, and then I dump out the mints that I use on a daily, and I say, let's count them. And they're obviously off, because I only have 11 in here, and I know. But then what happens is I tell them, but that's okay, because I knew you were going to say number 22, because I wrote it down on the lid before we got here. And then you show that you wrote down number 22. And the way that works, and I will reveal this because I think everybody knows, and this is a magic channel, is, if I can find it, a little thumb writer. So a thumb writer also fits perfectly inside the Altoids box. So then when I put everything back, I can show them, I put the thread back, it all fits nicely in there, closed up, and it's ready to go. The way I present it is I shake it up, say, how many mints do you think are in an Altoids box? Now, are in this Altoids box. I have eaten some, so that number, so if you know how much really come in here, that's not what the number is. But how many do you think are in here? And then as they say the number, you just write it, with the thumb writer. And to ditch it, I have the thread in there for the gypsy thread routine. So then what I do is I typically like to present this to 2 people. So typically what I like to do is I present this to 2 people and I say, hey, how many mints do you think are in an Altoids box, right? How many mints do you think are in an Altoids box? And I like to try to perform this to 2 or more people, obviously in front of you. And as I shake it, I asked one person, and I got this tip from Peter Turner when he was talking about, thumb writers, is you ask one person, I think you tell them, I think you're going to guess it right. I think you have good intuition. And as you're doing that, obviously looking at them, not looking at it, you open it up and you get your thumb writer in place, hold it there. So how many do you think? And you ask the first spectator and he says 22. And then what you do is you ask the second one, the second spectator, to your left or to your right, depending on how you're using the gimmick. Well, what would your guess be? Doesn't matter what he says. You write down 22, and then what you're doing here is, like, you say, see, but that wasn't your guess, right? And what I'm doing there is I'm switching hands, justified because I'm pointing at him or her. I'm pointing at the spectator that's you said would guess the correct answer. And what you're doing is, as you're doing that, you're stealing the gimmick away. And now you're pointing with this hand, and this gimmick just drops as you're talking to them now. And then you say, well, I actually kind of tricked you because there is something else inside here, not just mints. And that's when you pull out the thread. I make the joke about my grandma always kept a needle and thread inside a little tin. I tend to do that too, carrying it around just in case. And I can actually do a trick with this if you guys want to see later. So that's how I get them to ask about this trick and possibly perform it. At the same time, what I'm doing is it gives me a reason to put it in my pocket along with the thumb writer. And now all that's left inside the mint is mints and your prediction. So then you dump out the mints and I peel off the prediction and I can give them that. And now you're left with an empty tin. And what you can do now is, remember I maximize the gimmick, is now, even though that was done horribly on camera, I don't think that you saw that it's now prepped and ready for a card trick, and it has a playing card in there for cards to impossible location. I will not show how that works because that is a Daniel Garcia trick that you can purchase. But this little tin, back to maximizing your everyday carry, is ready to go again when you throw your mints back in there. So just to recap, you can, if you do decide to do card to impossible location and you move on to a card trick afterwards, then this tin will be here, right, on the table, already set up for the card to impossible location. And you would dump it out, you'd give them, their signed card, or however you perform card to impossible location. And then you can set it open and flat on the table. You would pick up the mints, put the mints back. You can pull the thread back out, and maybe they ask you to see that trick. They'll say, hey, you said you could do a trick with that one, let's see it. Then you'll go into gypsy thread. But if not, then you can just reach into your pocket, and as you bring it up, you load your thumb writer back in, and then potentially later on go back and switch out a little post-it note that I carry in another pocket to perform the prediction again. And now this goes into the little small pocket you have on the side of your jeans, taking up essentially no pocket space because it's in the little pocket. And with that, you have a number prediction. You have a way to carry gypsy thread. You have a card to impossible location. And it doesn't necessarily have to be gypsy thread. It can be something else that's small. I've experimented with getting a small dice and fitting it in there. It doesn't quite close completely, but it will close. So if you have an inverted die routine that you do, you can put a die in there. If you have linking safety pins, you can carry those in there. Whatever you can fit inside the little Altoids box, but the trick is not the point, right? The point of this video is to think about why the hell we're carrying so much stuff in our pockets, to maximize the space we use in those pockets, and to maximize every trick or gimmick that you carry to get the most out of it. I can literally walk out the door with this in my pocket, and I have 2 very powerful tricks in a number prediction and a gypsy thread routine. And if for some reason I get to borrow a deck of cards, then I have one of the biggest, and I have it all in my small little pocket in my jeans. Not even a big pocket. Now, I do carry more stuff, and everything that I carry is maximized, just like this Altoids box. Next week, we'll go over my Sharpie. But for now, thank you guys for watching. And again, the point of this video was for you to think about what you carry and try to maximize it to get the most out of it. And free up some pocket space, because there's no need for us to walk around with our pockets full of junk. Makes no sense. Thanks.